I have the distinct honor of bringing you, I got to put my glasses on a little bit, Pat Cooper, Pasquale Caputo, right? You get the stage later. I got the stage now. Okay?
I can't hear. I'm deaf.
And you're deaf and I'm dumb. Right? Okay. Pat Cooper is a comedic icon. He's known for stand-up routines and talks about his Italian heritage. As I remember on the Carson show, regular, terrific guy. Again, born in Brooklyn, New York, Pasquale Caputo, 6th generation bricklayer before he got into entertainment, which is obviously his chosen field. He started his career, I won't tell you what year, but on the Jackie Gleason show.
Wow.
And he has performed in every major venue, every nightclub, all the famous nightclubs that we had years ago, Atlantic City, Las Vegas. He's performed with Frank Sinatra, Martin and Lewis, Tony Bennett, Sergio Franchi, Sammy Davis Jr., Connie Francis, Bobby Darin, and so many others. In 1969, he and former singer Jimmy Roselli premiered their two-man show in Broadway, Palace Theater. So he has written a book, Pat Cooper, How Dare You Say, How Dare Me? And as soon as he's done with this tremendous presentation, we're going to sit him in the DeFalco room. He's going to be signing copies of the book for everyone here. So please come on in and join him for that. Pat, I'm done.
Frank, thank you.
Oh, it's on, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been a very successful man with no education. And to come out here tonight and to see Italians gather for something is such an important thing for me. Because I was born in this country, and you're looking at a man who's known as macaroni. Now the reason I say that is because I am an Italian. I was born in America, I don't speak the language. My father came from Mola di Bari. My mother came from Naples. And they don't know what I am. Because you're not allowed to be funny in an Italian family. When I was growing up, if you sang off key, you were another Caruso. But if you said something funny, what gives you the right to open your mouth? And I thought there was something wrong with me. Because the Italian culture, the way I grew up, is Monday to Friday, you go to work. Friday night, you get paid. Saturday you go shopping or you make ashpays. Sunday you eat macaroni and you go back to Monday again. That's what I was raised. And I would say to my father, there must be something more than that. And he says, yes, dying. Because everything was not nonsense to them. Everything is what you are. You're an Italian, conduct yourself as such. Obey the rules and regulations. When I say 6 o'clock at night, get your ass here or I'll throw you out the goddamn window. Because I work all day long, I want to see my children at the table. Now I was comedic from the minute I was born. I saw comedy everywhere I grew up. I looked at my father and I laughed. Because my father always talked like this. That's why we never served him soup. And he was a definite man. You don't step out of your mode. That's what you do. Shut up and keep your mouth shut. He never yelled. Never. He beat you by staring at you. And my comedic humor saved my life. Speaking at a turn is unheard of at an Italian family. I'll give you an example. One afternoon, my mother started yelling at my father in Italian. I'm sitting there and I'm going, I don't believe this. My father gets up, goes to the drawer, takes out a piece of paper, and he says to my mother, this is the license that we got married. Where does it say I gotta take your shit? I said, that's hilarious! Holy Christ! I wish I would have said that! Wow, my old man's got a sense of humor! How dare my family tell me I don't have a right to be funny? How dare you? How dare you do that to me? I love to be funny. It came natural. I was funny on the corner. I used to do Al Jones and James Cagney. And my father says, you're a buffoon. What is this if you're in future? I said, well, I like it. I like it. There's something wrong with you. And he took me to Dr. Rini on Henry Street. And he said to Dr. Rini, what did the stethoscope on his head? Because I think there's something wrong with his brains. And the doctor came from Italy. He says, Mike, he's lighting up the world. He's wonderful. He's electricity. And my father said, how come I'm still getting a bill? Because they don't want that. You're causing people to stare at you. I says, I'm a kid. I was 13, 14. I was like 109 pounds if I was that. I tell the kids today, I am the last of a culture that I call oil paintings. There'll never be another Italian like us that were born and we went through the Second World War. What a great, great country. And what an opportunity for me. We don't want nobody at war. When the war was over, we had block parties. And I had to sneak away to get up on the stage on Union Street or Court Street to do something, an impersonation of James Cagney. I went to confession. And my father would say, don't forget to go to confession and tell God what a skunk you are. I said, why don't you go? I don't tell my business to nobody. And every priest in the church was Italian. And I went in there, bless me, Father, I sinned. And he pulled the thing on the side, the little door, and he goes, what kind of sin did you make, my boy? I says, you dirty rat. You got nothing to tell me, Father. I'll break your back, you hear me? And he goes, Pascal! I'm going to tell your father you're going to change the car. That's why I called you a dirty rat. And they told my father. This is negative. It'll lots. This is something to My father says you're disgracing the family. And my big man says, when did I have to keep the family up? I'm a funny guy. He says, you think you're funny. You just have an attitude that we got to straighten out. And I says, there must be something wrong here. And I ran away from home. Why did you run away from home? I said, well, there was pressure. I started to feel ashamed of what I was trying to be. It's like today we have the gay community, that these people had to suffer all the years. And I'm saying, why can't you be the way you are supposed to be? There was never an Italian comic. Who ever heard of an Italian comic? Singer, yes. And if there were Italian comics, they were in burlesque. Tommy Moraff was the greatest Italian burlesque comedian, but nobody paid attention. But I turned around, trying to get attention, I would run away. And then I come back 3 days later, and my father says, why did you come back? And I said, well, I'm trying to bring out a point here. He says, no. When I ran away from my mother, never said mother, my mother, I came into America to send my mother money. You haven't sent a dime in your country. So I said, what am I going to do? The teachers told my father and my mother. My mother was a worker. My father would say, don't get in my way. I'm the father here, you're the mother. And behind his back, she would start to put buttons on a card and get a penny a card. Never told my father, and such, because she wanted to buy a house. And I swear as I'm standing, my father said, I don't want no house. I don't want no expense. I just want to pay what I got to pay. And I want to die. My mother is an angel. And I'm going to tell you, my father, I don't know, he finds out that my mother bought an apartment house in those days for $1,800, 18, 19 people, and bedrooms in the hallway. And I swear, this is what he said to my mother. He says, so Louise, I hear that you bought yourself a house. And I told you I don't want to buy a house. I'm not involved with it. So now, next time you want to get a fuck your house. And he left and moved to the Hotel St. George, and that's where he died. That's where he died. Because he said, that's not what I got to marry her for. I'm not trying to go on. I got to support my children. I got to go to court to give you $30 a week, and you're making $75 a week in the basement. And I'm a kid, but I see the humor. You see the humor. Because I got a funny family. Funny family. So I wound up getting bigger, taller. Every day was a day. And they were starting to draft. What a joke. And I got drafted. And my mother says, my God, thank God you're going. Because now I get $21 a month. My God, what a pleasure. So I went to the army. For only 100 days, I drove them crazy in the army. I drove them nuts. They go, God damn it, damn Pasquale, goddamn Pasquale. Well, you belong to the Mayfield? That's what Mayfield. I'm an Italian. I goddamn Italian. Son of a bitch. I got out. Because I had hammerhead had toes. And I didn't know. I thought I was a cripple when they told me. Because I tried for every branch of the Army, Navy, said, and they let me go. When they drafted me, I said, you can't draft me. You just turn me down. And they said, cut it out. So I had to prove that I had toes, which I never knew I had. Make a long story short, I got out. And I'm home, and I got the bag. I'm home. My mother goes, oh, you want to fight over? I said, no, I'm out. What do you mean you're out? That's it? She goes, I don't get $21 a month. I says, I don't know. I guess not. Every family in the neighborhood asked my mother, how did he get out? I got my son is in a career. How did your son get out? He's a genius. My mother goes, only I wind up with a genius. The few days I spent in the Army, I did some shows. Impersonations I did, whatever I had to do. And I got married. And I gotta say this, I married a lovely lady, but she was not for me because I had a flow. This is what my book is about. My friend Steve was taking pictures up there. I went in his studio and I spoke about what was on my mind for about 50 hours. But you need someone to give it a flow, to give it a one that you don't want to put the book down. Because I don't want to write a book. Because I read a lot of books that were boring. That were absolutely boring. You know, what's her name from the Florence Henderson just wrote a book. She's been on television 30 years. What's in the book that she wants to catch your attention? She had an affair with Mayor Lindsay. And Mayor Lindsay gave her the crabs. It's in the book. So when I heard that I was on the radio, I said, she's lucky she didn't get the lobsters. So I didn't want to write a book. And my friend Steve Garrin there, he says, Pat, you got so many stories. You're interested. I said, what am I going to say? Just talk. He said, I'll put it in the right way. So, I lost my family, ladies and gentlemen. I don't take a cop out. I'd have done it again. I will never see my grandkids, and I'm not looking for sympathy. I will never see my son and daughter from my first marriage. And they hate me, and I can understand that. But what I was trying to do is to become something rather than drive a cab or lay bricks or sweep a floor. There was something in me that said, you're worth something. And I wasn't getting that help. And I'm not angry because they didn't have the brains to give you the help. If I was Jewish, they would say another Milton Berle. Because they have the DNA to understand comedy. My family didn't know comedy. What was comedy to them? Some Italian woman, stop there, I used to hear every Sunday. The Ayuya hour. And my father and mother goes, that's a funny end. I couldn't get it because it was an Italian. He said, that's a comedian. You're stonata. Anyway, I get married, and I have 2 kids. And I got to work, I got to support. And my mind's on show business. I'm driving a cab part-time. I'm doing whatever I can, and I'm causing burdens. I am causing hate. And they didn't get it. And I said, I don't give a goddamn what you get or not. Listen, I can't stay here. I can't stay here because I just can't. It's not for me. I gotta go. So I left. 2 children, my first wife, and I moved to an $8 a week room in Greenpoint. Driving a cab, when I got a job on a Saturday for comedy, I would use the cab, go to the job, do the comedy, get back in the cab, and work, because I needed the money. I made a mistake, ladies and gentlemen. I offended my family. I became successful. How dare you become successful and make fools out of us? I said, excuse me? How dare you? That I got to go on my job, my father says. And they got to say, we saw your son, Pat Cooper. He was wonderful and a Micah Douglas. He said, isn't that my son? And my son is a Pasquale Caputo. I changed my name. That was the end. He came to the Copa because Jimmy Rosselli was there with me. They threw him out of the Copacabana because he said, I'm there to see my son Pasquale Caputo. I said, we got no son Caputo. And they threw him out. And he came to my dressing room in the Club 14, the Hotel 14, knocked on my door. He says, I cannot believe I can't get in to see you. What a star. I said, why didn't you call me, for Christ's sake? He says, I don't need nobody to call me. He said, I come here to see what this is all about. So, I go downstairs. I said, that's my father. He put him there. And the show was over. And they went, well, Mr. Computer, what did you think of your son? He says, I don't get it. I don't get it. I get it, Jimmy Rosselli, Maravemina. It brings back your culture. They said, but your son's making wonderful humor. I don't get it. And this was the coup de grace with me and my father. One night he says to me, next time you go to see your Angelina, do not go there unless your uncle's there. I said, excuse me? What did you say? Do not go there unless your uncle's there because the people talk. I said, no, you talk. How dare you say that to me? Are you crazy? What kind of a son you think I'm made of? What kind of a human being? I said, what are you people, nuts? So you run away further from that. I hadn't spoken to him. That's got to be over 40 years. I hadn't spoken to my mother. She went on Howard Stern to say I didn't pay you back rent. I said, what? Because the anger of my success, and you deserted 2 children. I said, I didn't desert, I didn't go nowhere. I did what I ever had to do. But I had not offended myself. I'm not angry. I'm not angry. You look on the television, on the computer, and my family still badmouth me 50 years. So we sent them an email. I says, when I die, who are you going to hate? I don't want no break. Is it the money? Sure, it's the money. Because when I had nothing, I didn't see from them. So all I want to do is make something of myself. And you could not take my dignity, ladies and gentlemen. That's not a cop-out. My father couldn't take it, my mother couldn't take it. And if Jesus Christ come off the cross and took my dignity, I wouldn't stand for it, because it's not right. When someone wants to do something right. If my father and mother should walk in here, they would say, look, I can't believe this. They like my son. Look at what's coming out for my son. No education. I got 1 week high school, I didn't go that week. But I never got that. So I seen anger there, and I said, I got to get out of here. And I met a Jewish agent who said, if you listen to me, Pat, I will put you on Jackie Gleason's show. I had no money. I was making $100 a week at that time, if I remember. I worked at a place called The Living Room, 3 shows a night, 7 nights a week, 21 shows. I got $100. But that's okay. Out of that money, I was paying $40 for my children. That's okay. And he kept his word. 7 months later, I was on Jackie Gleason. Now, you talk about a miracle. I'm scared because I used to watch Jackie Gleason. And I got my tuxedo on backstage, and he comes out and he goes, let me tell you something, son. If you weren't the greatest, you wouldn't be on my show. He lifted me off the ground. I should have got that hopefully from a father or mother or from sisters. But that's okay. That's okay. I went beyond that. There's no one to say you have no right to better yourself. Well, then you got to shut up, keep quiet, and live our life. I said, no, it can't happen. A lot of people say, yes, I will live your life, because I don't want to got my kids. I love my kids. I'll kill for my kids. I love my kids. That's a cop-out. For me, it was a cop-out, because I don't love my kids if I got to live there like a hooer. Like a hooer father under your terms. No way. He ain't going to do it. Wow, are you ashamed of yourself? No, goodbye. I haven't seen my daughter 45 years, my son 50 years. And I say, you know, it's too late. What are you going to do? Can't do nothing anymore. So I started to do shows. Started to work in Las Vegas. I worked with the biggest stars in the world. I didn't want to become a movie star. I wanted to do stand-up comedy. I made $25,000, $30,000 in one night. I was making $50,000 a week. You educated jerk. Only in America you can make that kind of money. Who am I to make $50,000 a week? Working with Frank Sinatra? Oh! Oh! Frank Sinatra. Everybody's God, which is wonderful. Nobody sings like Frank Sinatra. There's nobody better than that man. He'll be the only one of that. I'm working this. Count Basie's opening the show. I'm following April in Paris, his biggest orchestration. I'm scared. Big stars are in the front row. And I walk out. And I started to talk. And Phil Harris, who was married to Alice Faye, another bargain. He says, hurry up, kid. Bring on the man. I said, what's the matter, buddy? You can't get a girl? You better hurt a pin drop. Like, who is he in front of Frank Sinatra to throw an ad-lib? And I stood there, and I did what I had to do. Joey Rizzo comes over to me. He says, Frank asked me to tell you to take out that thing about the Saints. I says, I'm getting a laugh with that. So I went to see Frank. I want to hear Frank tell me that. He's Frank! Frank, yeah, kid. Did you tell Julie that I got to take out the thing about the Saints in my act? And he goes, what? Did you tell Julie that I got to take out a part of my act? Do I tell you what songs to sing, Frank? And he's looking at Julie, who's behind me. I said, a bunch of butchers. A dentist dents. I'm a comic. I come in. They're waiting for you, for Christ's sakes. I got the shakes. As soon as I walk out, that thing in the air says, when you gonna come on? I said, how dare you? Never worked with him again. But 4 years later, I'm getting ahead of myself. I finished with the Sinatra, 56 shows in 56 days. Okay? And 36, whatever. The day I closed with Sinatra was on a Tuesday. Wednesday, I went downtown to the Fremont to work with a guy called Joe Williams, one of the greatest singers of all time, with Gretchen Weiler and Pat Cooper. And there it is on the marquee. Joe Williams, Pat Cooper, Gretchen Weiler. I'm making now $7,500 down in the Fremont. With Sinatra, I'm making $1,000 a week. Fuck him! My Jewish manager says, get the goddamn money! What are they gonna do? Kiss his ass like everybody else? 4 years later, they asked me to do a benefit, Peggy Lee, Frank Sinatra, the Step Brothers, a couple of acts. Frank Sinatra walks in. How you doing, kid? Frank, how are you? Nice to see you, Frank. He says, you know, I work across the street. Put me on right away because I got to go and do my show. That's okay. So I'm only doing 3 songs. That's okay. He starts the 4th song. I walk out and say, excuse me, how many times I've told you 3 fucking songs? He screamed. hamburger's guest. This guy is the cheapest bastard on the planet. I'm not talking behind his back. He's a cheap son of a bitch. And I can't stand that, particularly when you're Italian and you're supposed to be dressed and you're wonderful and you pick up a tab and you throw a few dollars around. It's part of your personality. Even if you're broke, you borrow it to do the right thing. Tommy Lasorda, and 3 days before the roast there was a scandal. Tommy Lasorda's restaurant found with rats. So I go there, we're in a big crowd, Lewis, Big Martin, and I'm there, and the guy will come over, and one of the guys said, whatever you do, don't mention rats. Worst thing to tell me. Rats. I get him. I says, Tommy, before I forget, meow. And this is a rat. He punched the table. And I stood there because I said, up yours, you son of a bitch. I don't like him. You're a cheap bastard. Oh! Comes walking in and taps me on the shoulder while I'm looking at Tommy Lasorda. Frank Sinatra. He goes, hi Frank, can I do the fourth song? Because to be whatever you want to be, you should be different than everybody. I went on Tom Snyder and I ratted out everybody that I didn't like. Because I was tired of being a jerk-off, that people were taking my dignity. I'm in the bedroom, Jerry Vale sitting there, I'm peeing, he's peeing. I give the guy $2, Jerry says, that's from the both of us. So I'm a student, I got no manners, I have no respect. Why? Oh, you got a big mouth. How about standing up for myself? What do you mean? I told my father he could drop dead. I told my mother, give me a break. But you know, you can't do that. You hurt your career. Tom Snyder, 1981. My wife calls me from Vegas. She goes, Pat, what did you do? Well, she got the show later on, 3 hours difference. I says, what did I do? What do you mean? She says, you're doing so well, and to put down these people. I says, I didn't put them down. I told them that they're dickheads. I said, they're not nice people. And it's about time somebody said that. I'm not these old gods on down here. I'm working with them, man. I said, I'm not saying nothing. You told me 20 minutes, I did 20 minutes. Told me 30 minutes, I did 30 minutes. 25 grand, I'd have done nothing. Who's making that kind of money, you sick bastards? 25, 30,000 a week. And I should get angry? Yeah, but you can't stick it to me. And I told my wife, don't you worry. Tomorrow I raise my price. She says, what do you mean? My wife comes from Ashtabula, Ohio. They don't raise a voice. They go, here's the bread. Merry Christmas. She married me. Where the fuck is the turkey? Different personalities. And they're going to write a book because my buddy here says, Pat, you got to put some of these stories down, and I did. And he had the ability, like being a jazz artist, you put that thing together. And I don't care if you like the book or not, but you're going to say, you know something? It's got a great flow. It's got like a belt. It's got some stories that I never would. Who would say these things about these people? And it's not to say, look what I did. I just told the gospel himself. That ain't it. Well, whoever I told that to knew that I was right. I said, how'd you like somebody to screw your kids? Huh? And they go, Stephen Eady. Stephen Eady. Stephen Eady. Hey, kid, excuse me. Hey, kid, excuse me. Steve Lawrence, you're looking at a man. Don't you ever call me a kid. And then she yells out, Merry Happiness. Great singer. Now take it away, that's how. She goes, you know, you're talking on the train. Kiss my ass. Edie, kiss it again. I don't care if I ever work with you because you're disrespectful. I don't like your attitude. Okay? Now what are you going to do about it? You're not working with me no more. Thank God. I'd rather shovel garbage if you don't show me. At least I'm a human being. I made mistakes. Of course I made mistakes. I've done stupid things. But not as I grew up. Not as I grew up. I get a call. I'm going to work with Robert De Niro. Ooh. What? Because I figured at that time, my career is subsiding. It's time to lay down and masturbate. Because that's what happens when you're old. You masturbate with your whole body and your head. Because what else are you going to do? What you do today? And I screwed my mind up and everything else. But that's good. It's an honor to get old. It's an honor to get old. I'm happy I'm old. You're all jealous. People say, you look good at 83. I'd rather be 40 and look old. Where was I? Anyway. I go to read for Robert De Niro movie. Analyze this. I read, the guy says, come tomorrow, you're going to be reading with Robert De Niro. I honor all great talent, whether you're a doctor or lawyer, doesn't have to be Robert De Niro, but it's an honor to work with Robert De Niro. My wife says, you're going to work with Robert, yeah. So I meet him the next day, there's a panel here, and we read the lines. And I go, Bobby, when are you going to say hello? He goes, what? I'm here 20 minutes. When are you going to say hello? He said, I got to say hello first, and you got to say hello second. I'm busting his chops. Because I want him to know, I'm here. It's not the biggest thing, because everybody's, I mean, you're a Sinatra. If you treat people like human beings, like it's wonderful. If the president come in here, of course, Mr. President, how are you? I'm honored to meet the president. I'm honored to be here. But certain performers, they play their part. He doesn't. He's very introverted. And he drinks black coffee every 10 minutes. Now, Robert De Niro. We're standing there by the bar, and I got a couple of lines, and he can't remember his lines, which is okay. I can't remember my lines. He says to the director, he said, I want to put the words on Pat's chest here, because the camera's going to be behind me. I said, if you put the words on my chest, I'm going to tell everybody. You read my fucking shoulder. That's why you're great, man. You read shoulders. I don't know whether to laugh. He didn't know what to do. I drove him fucking nuts. I wanted to do that because I wanted to say I was with Robert De Niro and it was wonderful and not big David Letterman, Mr. Cooper, you're not allowed to talk to David Letterman before, you know, he goes out there to do his monologue. Oh, really? David Pan Cooper here! How you doing, buddy? Thank you for having me on. Never was on again. Because they're frauds. They're not human beings. They're frauds. They think they're above. They're not above. My father said it. That cleared all this up. He says, so when you get married to my son, and you go on your honeymoon, and you make a love, and you cry because you're with the woman that you want to be. She's in your life, and you make love. And when you finish your love, you go, oh, Jesus Christ. What a wonderful feeling that the God gave us. I said, Jesus Christ, that lady might say, my old man, Jesus, that's something. It's a but. That's all, here comes the but. When you're 75, 80, and you sleeping with the wife and you can't go anymore. But when you pee and you finish, you go, ah. I'm 83. Every morning I get up, I go, oh, Jesus, is that great? Because the little things that we take for granted, peeing. Peeing. I'm going to pee as soon as I finish talking. I am the luckiest man I ever met. I got money. I hate money. It's a curse. It's a curse. But we needed to survive, and we needed to buy. I came from the nickel bread. I came from the nickel subway. We were the oil paintings in that era. I'm so happy I lived to that. And I fought through the icicles coming at me. I mean, and I hurt my family. But you know something, I don't feel guilty. Because people are so stupid. You miss something. My kids, Jesus, I got grandkids from my second marriage. I would, oh, Jesus. My first great-grandkids will never see me. It's sad, and I'm not crying about it. I take the blame. I take the blame. You go on your computer when you go on the Amazon, and you see letters that my son and daughter and even my niece. And before I walk off the floor, when my father died, in the obituary it says Michael Caputo left 3 daughters. So, I said, okay. I didn't go to a funeral because I didn't see my mother in 40 years. I was going to go to a funeral, I didn't go. My sister, oldest one, a couple of months ago, lost her husband, lost her son, and lost her brother. She gets a girlfriend to email me and says, your sister lost her husband, she'd like to talk to you. I emailed her back. I said, tell my sister, how can I talk to her when she's not my sister, because her father left 3 daughters. So how can I be her brother? That's how pissed off I got. And I swallowed my tongue after I did it. But you know something? In fact, my father said, don't go to see your aunt unless your uncle's there. So, whatever wrongs I did, I'm here, I live. I'm 83. If I die tomorrow, it don't mean nothing. But I left something on the map here. They say 10 years from now, you went back there, I got back up. We did something. No, that's it. Now, this is the first time in 25 years I came here. The reason it took 25 years, because they're not too bright. See, if they would give me a dinner, I would do 2 hours. It's an honor to breathe. It's an honor to be healthy. I lost my wife. She was 73 years old. I had a great marriage there and all that. So I had a lot of good wealth. And the money that I've made, I don't even want it. I gave it to my grandkids and my daughter. I gave it. I just want enough that I could, I could go out to dinner once in a while. Because the money is a curse. Because all of my family, they could have. My mother died, left $1.4 million. $1.4 million! Didn't enjoy $1. My father left $89,000 in the Hotel St. George. No will. My sister said, Daddy died and you can't touch his money because our lawyer said you can't touch it. I said, first of all, he never gave me when he was alive. I wouldn't take a dime. Second of all, there's no will. So if I want to bust your balls, I'll come in there and say, I want part of my father's money. I wouldn't do that because it's not mine. So I look at this crowd here and I say, there's got to be 80 books here about all your lives and all your mishaps and all your mistakes. The difference is between me and you ain't got the balls to come up here.